We call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone from public to our community to our cabinet to our volunteer board members. Thank you all for coming this evening. Our new school year is upon us, and it's been a busy preparatory summer. Our apologies for the delay in the deference to health and safety of especially some immunocompromised individuals on our team. We have some folks in our audience who have elected not to wear masks. We would ask them to wear masks. They have elected not to, with claiming medical exemption. We will respect that this meeting and review our protocols for the future and continue with our meeting right now. We will have two special presentations from Dr. Sobers this evening on school opening and school renaming. Let us start with a motion to adopt the agenda. Thank you both. Mr. Black, actually, the flag salute. No, actually, forgive me. We need to vote on it.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Please stand.
Perfect.
Put your hand on your heart. Ready to begin? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we begin our meeting this evening, I want to remind everyone in the public of our mission to engage, empower, and elevate, and our continuing goal of, in this case, elevating, which means we strive to operate and hold our meetings with the highest protocol, the highest professionalism, and the highest standards. We ask all in attendance to adhere to this as well. We will shortly turn to public comments, but before opening to immediate public comments, we'll share those who shared their thoughts on share your thoughts with us. There were a few themes that emerged: a desire for more robust distance learning, questions about COVID testing, classroom teacher assignments and such being posted online to avoid congregating, and then comments about renaming, some of which will be addressed this evening. We also remind everyone that this is a meeting in public, not a town hall meeting, and as such, we're unable to engage or respond to public comments. You may have noticed in prior meetings when we have people at the podium sharing their public comments, we don't respond by Brown Act and other regulations. We're unable to. We simply must listen, but we assure you we are hearing you, we're listening to you, and it is making its way into our deliberations. We also are starting a new protocol at this meeting moving forward, now that we've come back in public, of a time constraint. I refer to Ms. Subaki that there's 3 minutes for each speaker to speak. At the 2.5-minute mark, it will be green and go to yellow, noticing there are 30 seconds, noting there's 30 seconds left, at which point we'll move to red if that first speaker is continuing, 10 seconds left, and ask the speakers to discontinue at the 3-minute mark, according to bylaw 9323C, long in place. Wendy, are there any public comments this evening?
Not the moment.
All right. Then let's move to our special presentation. Dr. Sobers. Thank you.
Test. Thank you to the board. I'm going to share a presentation that I was able to share last night. As you can see, we actually have a new screen in our boardroom today, so excited to be able to do our live stream from this new screen in the next couple weeks. Last night I had the pleasure to be able to speak to the homeowners or the Hollywood Neighborhood Association and go over our welcome back, the introduction to our welcome back for staff and students this year. Really excited to welcome back our students for the first time in a while. We have about 98% of our students will be returning. We are looking at 2 models. One is our in-person instruction model. We'll talk about that. I think Dr. Harbeck will also share a little bit about our independent study program. We'll talk a little bit about health and safety. There's 5 major areas that we're looking at as we support the fight against COVID-19. And these are readily available and acceptable here in Wiseburn. That's number 1 is masks, 2 is our ventilation system, 3 is vaccines, 4 COVID-19 testing, and then we have our limited indoor crowding when possible. And actually, that would be limited crowding in general. So first, masks. Masks do reduce the transmission of COVID-19, including the Delta variant per the CDC and other health officials. Per state and local directives, indoor masking is required for everyone at our K-12 schools, regardless of the vaccination status. Students, staff, and visitors must wear masks inside of our schools. There are some limited exceptions, and students will be granted these accommodations or exceptions in conjunction with school personnel and doctors. Students who do not comply with the masking requirement will be offered an opportunity to join one of our learning models, an independent study program, which would be from home. They will not be allowed on campus. Outdoor masking is also recommended. We will use this time to allow students and staff to take mask breaks, especially during eating and drinking. Per LADPH physical education classes, if they move indoors, basketball, volleyball, any type of indoor sport, we would ask that students wear masks except when drinking water. Our ventilation system, we were lucky enough last year in March to be able to assess our HVAC systems, and then we were able to replace in March of 2021 all of the, we were able to add, an air purifier system to all of our HVAC systems that included over 150 classrooms, office spaces, and some multi-use, multi-purpose rooms. These air purifiers are similar to those that are used on airplanes, and they're going to be really important in our disinfecting of classrooms and continuously clean air that we want our students and staff to breathe. Our HVAC systems also in general are routinely maintained. Air filters are changed every 3 months, and we do have an HVAC specialist who goes around routinely checks. Vaccinations. To date, well actually, as of 8/6, this number has gone up to over 80% at this point. 80% of Wiseburn community members ages 12 plus have been vaccinated per the Los Angeles Department of Public Health. I do want to clarify this doesn't necessarily mean students in our school. It means students or kids of this age within the Wiseburn boundaries. So I just want to clarify that. Vaccines. So per the CDC, we know that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective in preventing COVID-19, including severe illness and death. They are effective against severe disease and death from variants of the virus. This would include the Delta variant. Infections happen in only a small portion of people who are fully vaccinated, even with the Delta variant. With infections that occur to vaccinated people are tend to be mild and don't cause some of the more serious conditions. More than 99, almost 100% of fully vaccinated people against COVID-19 have not had any breakthrough cases that have resulted in serious illness, hospitalization, or death. If you're fully vaccinated and become infected with the Delta variant, you can spread the virus to others. But people with weakened immune systems, including people who take immunosuppressant medications, may not be protected even if they are fully vaccinated. At Wiseburn, we do recognize that unvaccinated employees are at a greater risk of contracting and spreading COVID-19 within the workplace and then ultimately the district community. Portion of the district students, those who are 11 years and under, we also understand that they have not been eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine at this time, and they face an even more elevated risk of contracting the COVID-19 virus. It's critical that we protect the health and safety of our students and staff. Because of this, we are requiring staff members to be vaccinated against COVID-19 with limited exceptions. Again, that would be in conjunction with medical exemption. And that's as per the health order from Governor Gavin Newsom, effective May 12/21. COVID-19 testing. So on-campus testing protocols, we want to use this in conjunction with other mitigation strategies, because remember that COVID-19 testing is only a snapshot in time. It only gives you that moment when the person is being tested. So we do want to use other mitigation strategies as well to provide the safest environment possible. Wiseburn will be offering testing for COVID-19 for students, staff, and community members who wish to be tested. This will happen twice a week, and it'll begin the week of August 23rd. We have contracted with Fulton Laboratories, and they'll be running these tests at Dana Middle School from 12:30 to 6 p.m. We'll be pushing this out via our social media posts here in the next couple of days. COVID-19 test results will be made available to the patient. They'll also be made available to Weisburn's COVID-19 compliance officer. Generally speaking, 24 to 36 hours. However, we've seen the results coming much quicker, somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 16 hours. So expecting quicker responses than what it says here. Weisburn will also have a cache of rapid COVID-19 tests. This would be used for immediate response. Should we notice that a staff member, student, is maybe showing symptoms, symptomatic, and we just need to do a quick check for the safety of everyone. Limiting of indoor spaces or limiting crowding. So per DPH, while there are no, no directives for physical distancing at this point, it is recommended that we do provide for distancing, and that students that are as students are sitting in their classrooms, that they are wearing masks, especially when distancing is not feasible. That would be in outdoor spaces when they're eating. You want to keep them separate. Weisburn will employ social distancing where possible. Again, as long as we're still able to keep our 100% of the students that want to come back to in-person instruction at their seats. Class transitions and hallways will be monitored and adjusted. It's particularly important in elementary schools as we go from classroom to specials, music, and or physical education. It also is very, very important that we monitor this in the middle school from classroom to classroom in between periods, and also at lunchtime during recess periods. Weisburn is also going to maintain an increased distance as much as possible when students and staff are not masked. So this would be anytime that we're eating, drinking, napping. We're going to have places on tables, or we'll have markings on tables and on the floor, so that just for a point of reference. And then Weisburn will be limiting visitors to essential visitors. Other additional health and safety measures, and this is in addition to our 5 that we just shared, are preventative strategies. And one is our daily screening tool. And this is a tool that we continue to use as a staff right now. And that's prior to entering campus. All students and staff would conduct this COVID-19 screening test. It was tailor-made for daily screening for the Weisburn Unified School District through a company called Qualtrics. So the 21-22 school year would include this as well. And the reality is that what we want is people to take a step back, at least have a moment to be able to check themselves, check their students, so that as students go to school, that at least it causes a pause and a self-assessment prior to being in public. Other additional health and safety measures, staff members are going to be provided PPE, includes face masks, face shields, gloves. We do have a cache of PPE that's fully inventoried and monitored by the business office. The district's also coordinating with custodial staff so that facilities are regularly and sufficiently cleaned and disinfected. And so, as you see in that last bullet point there, or second to last bullet point, we are still conducting enhanced cleaning protocols. We're utilizing our foggers. All of our school sites have at least one fogger. Most have 2 foggers, as our custodians are trained in fogging and disinfecting classrooms, as well as any high-touch surfaces. This will happen. There's checklists and means for us to make sure that this is going on. And learning will take place as appropriate outdoors. We also have a push towards social emotional learning and inclusion. We know that 18 months has put a big burden on students, and there's a little bit of trepidation for students to come back to school. Dr. Ingram is here with us today. Has put a lot of time into building a program that welcomes students back, where we're including students back in our educational program and also in their social emotional well-being. So looking at it sort of from a 3-pronged approach, you see the parents and caregivers is the first one. This is going to provide counseling services and programs or comprehensive resources from our counseling team, to our parents so that they can help support students as they return back to school. Again, it would include back to school support, but for specifics, this presentation is shared on our website. So these links are live. You can visit the CARE team's website there. That's our elementary school counseling program. And then Dana Middle School also has theirs. Again, both are live on our website at this point. During this time, we're also, as we look to inclusion practices, we want families to have this opportunity and to provide parents and caregivers resources to just share and learn about these cultural traditions, and to participate in learning opportunities that promote a welcoming environment so that students feel a sense of belonging upon their return. Second would be for teachers. We're building a structure to support teacher well-being and improve student outcomes. So teachers are going to participate in regular trainings and support sessions to ensure social emotional lessons are implemented regularly and with fidelity. So I know the care team and Dr. Ingram have gone to great lengths to prepare a professional development calendar so that staff can engage with students in these small lessons every week. For students will participate in these regular opportunities for social emotional learning. They're going to have access to mental health support. We actually have more counselors now than we've ever had in the district, so we're very excited to see our counseling team grow. Students will be able to participate in these weekly lessons, but aside from that, we also do have a robust counseling program, so students can have one-on-one counseling. There's family reach out, and other wraparound services. So website, again, this will be posted online. This is more for our online viewers and those that want to visit our website. We do have an updated health and safety policies page. So exposure protocol. So what happens if, and this is, there's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of sort of what ifs, I guess. And we do tend sometimes to get into sort of analysis paralysis. So we try to break them down into some of the most, I guess, prominent scenarios. So reporting off-campus COVID-19 exposure. So if there was an exposure to COVID-19 off-campus, there are point people at each of the school sites. This is outside of the administrators, although any administrator can be contacted, but each of the school sites does have a point person. So if there were some concerns, we would be able to then direct them. They would be able to contact these individuals, and also then these individuals would be able to direct them either to an administrator, district nurse, and or another medical professional as needed. So a couple scenarios, and these are ones that have come up from families. A child is exposed to a confirmed case of COVID-19 at home. At this point, the child we recommend does not come to school, should be tested for COVID-19. Again, we do have opportunities for this that are free at no cost to families. They should quarantine at home for the appropriate amount of time, and this appropriate amount of time will be communicated to them by the Wiseburn Unified School District nurse and or their primary care physician. Child who may have been in a classroom test positive, or has been, sorry, in a classroom and test positive for COVID-19. It's a little bit hard to read, but families of these students will be notified. And so part of this process is that if there's ever a positive case on site, or we hear of a positive COVID-19 student who's test positive for COVID-19, we do send out a general letter to every single student in the school. Obviously, we do not release names or any identifying characteristics, but we would let the community know, the greater community know that there was a positive case on campus. We would then do our contact tracing, at which point we would determine who was close contact to the student, to the positive or the adult, and then we would use our contact tracing to determine any quarantine procedures that need to be in place for those that were impacted. A child that has illness symptoms that are not consistent with COVID-19, there's very few, because a lot of the symptoms of COVID-19 are those symptoms that students face. But we have had some indication, some parents that have indicated that their students have other symptoms. So in this case, we just want parents to to communicate with us, to be collaborative with our school personnel. Parents will be notified if it's happening at school, and then between the parents and the district staff will make a decision whether that student would return to class, or depending on severity, may need to be picked up for that day. A staff member or teacher test positive, or not a teacher, could test positive for COVID-19. So this is someone that may not be in the classroom, could be security, a PE aide, a classroom aide that may not have been in contact with students. In this case, the compliance team goes to work in Wiseburn, because what we're looking for here is collaboration with anybody that may have been involved with this individual, again, for contact tracing purposes, so we can determine those that were exposed. And then the confirmed case, and then any close contacts are notified and recommended for a quarantine. A child is identified, number 5, at school of exhibiting potential COVID-19 symptoms. We would send the child home at that point. We would recommend that a medical provider be consulted for appropriate next steps, probably including COVID-19 test, and then we would sort of relinquish any further action to the child's primary care physician or medical provider. And then the child would remain home. Right now, the understanding is 3 days, and any other symptom, or 3 days of no symptoms, fever-free with no symptoms, and then no other symptoms are are evident in this student. Return to distance learning procedures. In the event that a whole class or cohort is sent home to quarantine, again, if LADPH, we would be in consistent communication with the Department of Public Health at a point that, so I guess want to backtrack a little bit and just say that we would not be making any of these decisions in isolation. These decisions would happen in communication, constant communication with the Department of Public Health. So if there were a situation that was perceived as an outbreak or a case where we would have to shut down a school, a classroom, parts of a school, we would send students home at that point. Distance learning model would begin, and there would be no change to the learning schedule. And I underline schedule because it won't necessarily mean that students would be in front of a computer from 8 to 3, just staring at a Zoom screen. But teachers would use Zoom, Google Classroom, and other digital resources to provide instruction and intermittent breaks throughout the day. And we would leave that up to the professional judgment of those teachers that we entrust to teach our students. Students who are enrolled in an independent study program model will not be impacted by quarantine protocols or classroom closures because they're in a separate program. And so that program will continue as is. If a student or small group of students are quarantining, it's just really important that families know they will have access to their classwork and any synchronous assignments. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Harbeck.
A quick question, if I may.
Sure. Sorry.
So for the, I think on one of the protocols, a student comes down with COVID, they're sent home. I didn't see that we're testing other students in their proximity. Did I miss that?
So if we would determine at that point who the close contacts were, and then we would be in communication with parents. We wouldn't just test a student without having.
We would do it automatically. I guess. Yes. We would make them aware of that.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
For instructional models, we have 98% of our students who are planning to return full-time to in-person instruction. This is great news for us. So a very small percentage choosing independent study. We want to see our students back. Our schools are open. In-person instruction, we're back full-time. Everyone can expect to have full-time instruction. Our schedules are matching those that we had before the pandemic. We will have everyone in mass, students, staff, classified staff, certificate staff, all times indoors. And we will also, as Dr. Silvers pointed out, complete those daily COVID screening tests. We're going to have comprehensive health and safety protocols that Dr. Silvers described all over our school sites. So we're excited to see students back. To prepare for our students to come back, our teachers are engaging in professional learning starting next week. We have our Guiding Coalition Leadership Workshop, part 1 taking place. We have 2 days of writers workshop practices for our TK through 5 teachers, along with our 2 new teachers on special assignment. We're going to promote this new initiative throughout the school year. Our middle school will be engaging in readers workshop training, and also we have a summer institute part 6 through 8, which is a tradition of Data Middle School. They review student data and prepare for their students in all classes. For our TK through 8 newest teachers, we're going to ask them to go through a full-day workshop on our cognitively guided instruction, or CGI. And finally, we're going to wrap up the week with a TK through 8 history social studies framework workshop. It's voluntary for teachers. We have a very good turnout, just over 40 teachers coming to that. So very proud of that week. Looking forward to it. So something every day. Our initiatives coming in this year, we're introducing a new physical education program, TK through 5, with a credentialed teacher. We're going to see a lot of time for our teachers during the school day to collaborate on these new initiatives and working together during our PE time. We are expanding our 5th grade music, introducing violin in the 5th grade for all students. We'll have a 1-to-1 ratio in violin for our 5th graders. We also are introducing 6th grade ukulele into the wheel. We weren't able to do that last year, obviously because of the pandemic. We felt some of the students just didn't have the opportunity in 5th grade to use a ukulele and to spend time with strings. So we're going to reintroduce it for the 6th grade wheel. We are going to continue with our STAR, math, and reading common assessments. Introduced this new last year as our local assessment. So we not only re-engage staff that's coming in all grade levels, but we've introduced also a review cycle. So we're going to have teachers looking at this at 4 points during the school year where their students are. TCT, or teacher collaboration time, will continue throughout the school year, and our balanced literacy support, which I mentioned, with our teachers on special assignment. We also have a teacher on special assignment returning, Joanne Michael, for our STEM and next generation science standards. She'll be supporting the TK through 5 group. She's also going to bring about the TK through 8 science resource adoption to look forward to this year for all grade levels. We've lowered class size for our 6th grade mathematics by adding some sections. We have a 1:24 ratio average in 6th grade math in the coming year. Again, support our students as they make that transition to middle school from 5th grade. And finally, we are introducing a new Tier 3 mathematics intervention support called Synchronous Math. We'll be asked to approve that tonight, that purchase. We piloted that this summer with our summer school staff and seemed to go well. So it's going to be a good fit for our TK provider, perhaps some of our 6th graders. Our long-term independent study program comes out of a California Department Ed Assembly bill called 180-130. Whitesburg is required, as are all school districts, to provide an alternative to in-person classroom instruction for students who may be at risk, health risk, if they are attending school during the 21-22 school year due to the pandemic. Today, we have, I think, 49 students enrolled in this. Just about 2% of our student population have opted into this program. The program does ask students to access an online curriculum. This is a home study program, and I want to emphasize that this is not our distance learning program that we enacted last year. This really is a home study program, an independent program. We're going to be using an online resource called School's Personalized Learning Program. Might be familiar, we had that last year for all grade levels. We decided on that program since it did go well and it does offer a full plethora of learning. It is California standards aligned. It's adapted in the area of mathematics. It also offers electives for students in coding and other programs. So we're very excited to offer that again, that they will be learning independently. We have a kindergarten to 3rd grade students in those grade levels will participate in a daily synchronous instruction, which means that they will meet daily with either a teacher, an instructional aide, one of those two in terms of throughout the school year, once a day to receive instruction. And that amount of time we've identified as about 30 minutes. It might be a little more, depending on the teacher. Grades 4 through 8, they participate in both daily what we call interaction, and then also instruction. Now, these are both identified by the California Department of Education as our guidelines. Families are asked to commit to a full semester just to keep continuity of learning going, and all students have the option of returning to in-person instruction in the classroom in the 21-22 school year at any time. Families are required to conference with the school administrator. Those meetings are going on right now, and students who enroll in the ISP, their parents do sign what's called a written learning agreement. We have the teacher sign it, the principal, and the parents. So everybody's on board. We have a short-term home study program. Dr. Silvers referred to it as a distance. We'll get our terms right on this, but it's really if we have a classroom that's close contact where students are quarantined at home. So this would take place for just a certain number of days, we're thinking under 15, under 10. And if the whole classroom goes home, it has one set of rules Dr. Shores went over. But what I want to emphasize here is that we will continue the school day. Students have full access to online learning. The learning follows them home. We've gone ahead proactively and purchased some accounts for all of our teachers and administrators. We've made sure that everyone has access to Google Classroom, to Learning Management Canvas at Dana, and also to Clever, which is a single sign-on portal for students to access all programs. They sign in once, they can access all the programs. Students can also get meals at Grab and Go at Dana Middle School weekend. That's being set up as we speak with Mr. Wilson, and we have alternate mechanisms while students are out, which simply means we can send home packets. We are going to make sure all kids have tech needed, hotspots as well. That goes for independent learning and for students that might be quarantined. We do have all of this online. We inspire people to go ahead and take a look. We've been very transparent with this, so everything's up front. Parents received a survey for independent study in early August, and the portal is open for that survey if they're interested in doing that.
Right. These FAQs will be posted. We just keep adding to them. So I'm not going to run through the FAQs, but if there are any questions that the board has, that
I don't have any questions, but I want to commend Blake for making the same presentation to the community meeting last night. It was very well received. There were very few questions. The questions were pertinent, even relevant to the group that was attending at the time. And everything was very positive and very supportive of the decisions that the district has made. So I want to really get the staff on that and the board well, because I think we've all worked closely together to come up with a plan that follows health guidelines and is also supportive of learning for our students and our families. So really compliment everyone and say thank you.
I think I have more of me, right?
So, second presentation.
And I actually, here, I can't take all the credit for this. I actually have to thank Dr. Ingram for helping me put something into one slide instead of.
Well, we know that we have to thank
Yeah,
you.
instead of 58 slides. So, but wanted to give an overview. We spent some time reviewing, thanks to Erica Porter, who's not here, and Dr. Ingram, who's helped put together sort of a time frame. And I'll just sort of tour us through this this plan that we're proposing to the board. And again, with the understanding that things may shift. You know, we're still sort of battling a pandemic and the unknown. But starting in summer of 2021, it actually started probably around May. So leading into summer of 2021, we did ask the principals of each of the school sites to invite, not appoint, but invite citizens, people from their communities, students, to be part of what we call a Citizens Advisory Committee. And so we are actually still in the formation process of that. We have reached out to individuals who are also maybe not currently involved in the schools, maybe they don't have students in the schools, but who have passed through our schools or have a connection to the Wyvern schools in some way, the Wyvern neighborhood in some way. And those individuals would then make up the Community Advisory Committee. But in those conversations, you know, we just know how important it is to outreach to the greater community, to continue to have constant communication with the greater community, because this small group, the CAC, which referred to it as that at this point, is going to recommend or potentially recommend a very big decision to this board, and so we want to make sure that the voices are heard. So again, summer 2021, Citizens Advisory Committee will be formed. And then the week of September 13th, I think a long-awaited first committee meeting, and it would be the first CAC meeting. We would hold that probably via Zoom at this point. And we would, at this one, we're going to establish common understanding of the renaming process. We want to talk about the values of the district. We want to talk about norms, et cetera. And so that will happen again, like I said, the week of the 13th. The outcome to that, and I know it's hard to read in yellow, but the outcome is we'll send a community survey out. So once we have this meeting with the smaller CAC, we'll then send the survey out to the greater community to explore choice, whether or not to rename one. We know 138th Street School will be renamed, and the board did ask us to explore the 3 other schools as well. So as we go through that process, and people had time during the summer to consider and have these conversations about norms and about vision and about values of the district, we'll follow up that meeting with a community survey, just so that we can provide as much data as possible to this board to help make informed decisions here. In the week of October 4th, we would hold our second meeting. At this one, we would identify alignment of our current namesakes with the Wyvern Unified School District values. So this is when we want to find out whether and have discussions as to whether or not our current namesakes do continue to uphold the Wyvern Unified School District's community values. After this meeting, the week of October 4th, the community will send out a community survey that will explore whether or not the current people believe, the larger community believes, that the current namesakes do align with Wyvern Unified School District values. Again, to bring back information to the team and to this board to explore data points. Moving over to the week of October 14th, we would do a presentation to the board during that time. We want to present sort of at that moment in time after the second meeting. And then the board may be making a decision about continuing the renaming process with all 4 schools. Should we continue going down that path? And or are we just continuing? We know with 1 school we are going to continue the process, but this would be a point where we may make a decision or recommendation to the board to move forward one way or another with the 3 other schools. So if it's a no, what we would do if this board decided to leave, say, the 3 other schools the same, we would then move up to that where the end circle is, and at that point we would develop a school name affirmation statement, basically affirming that the current namesakes do represent the values of the district, and we willing to hold true to those names, we'd like to pass that as a resolution with the board. After that, we would send a community survey out to explore any feedback related to this affirmation statement, this constant flow of information from the community back to the Citizens Advisory Committee, and then back to the board is really important for us. So if it's a yes, then we are going to continue exploring names. We know for one school it will at this point. We are going to then begin exploring renaming options in more detail. As we shared with this board in previous meetings, there are only a few I guess names that or categories of names that we can use. We have on the left there individuals, and it was pretty loud and clear in our early polling or surveying that the community would like us to consider individuals that have contributed to the world or contributed, not a local sort of hero, but more of a worldly hero or someone of more societal, the larger society, someone that's contributed to the larger society. So we would decide between that individual or a geographic place, and we've had those conversations here as well. It could be something like a Holly Glen Elementary School. It could be a Del Air. We could start looking at memorializing some of our neighborhoods, even maybe the Whitesburg Unified School District with a school named Whitesburg. After that, so on these yes names, we're going down that path towards the bottom. We would send a community survey to explore preference for the name type. Pros and cons to the name types. We want to get that feedback, and then some suggestions for names. We are going to ask at this point that the community would share rationale for the selection of names. Again, we'll be collecting those in the Citizen Advisory Committee, leading this, but really wanting to gather again as much data as we can to present and package for the board. Then we would have a fourth meeting. That's the week of November 15th. I'm kind of taking us down to that bottom or that lower level. We would develop school name affirmation statements for proposed names. And at this point, we would ask that the Citizens Advisory Committee would come up with 3 names per type. So we're going to start kind of chopping down some of the larger lists and having 3 max per type. So 3 potential names. And this again, this could be we may change this, but 3 names of people and then 3 regions or 3 geographic names. We would want to create some sort of affirmation statements to present to the board as to why we selected these names or why we brought these names forward. And send another survey out to our community to explore feedback related to those affirmation statements so that we have an understanding of, so that the community has an understanding of why these names were chosen. And again, wanting feedback from the community. In the 5th meeting, we would review survey feedback from that 4th meeting, finalizing those affirmation statements for proposed names. Again, there's 3 per type per school, and then we want to send out a poll. So once we get to that yellow circle, the highlight circle, we would be sending out a large poll or survey to the community with the names, the options, so that then we can start gathering. Again, it's not data. And we put polling here because ultimately it is sort of the will of the board and the vote of the board to determine what name is ultimately selected. So we would just be providing this information to the board so that, again, you have as much information as possible. And then in January of 2022, data and proposed names will be presented to the Whitesburg Unified School Board at our regularly scheduled board meeting in January. And then we can consider, discuss, decide, and or push and decide at a later date. And again, that would be, the will of the board too at that moment. So in a snapshot, that is kind of our comprehensive process. Again, I want to thank Dr. Ingram, Erica Porter, who's not here today, for helping sort of align this and also really bring out that yellow. I mean, I know it's hard to read, but underneath everything is outreach and continuing that outreach to our community so that the community, after every sort of decision or discussion, has some sort of input that they can provide back to the Community Advisory Committee, to the district, to staff, so that we can present that to the board. Questions?
Just a quick comment, 2 things. I like the multiple names from individual and geographic. It keeps us open-minded to possibilities in both. I know the committee is limited in its attendees. We're making outreach to those who have been involved and also those who have not. If someone is incredibly passionate about joining this committee, can they reach out in some way or let themselves be known? Of
course, and we'll post on, when we start sending that information, we will post. We have received it.
Or you want to give it out? Absolutely. Great. All right. Thank you, Dr. Silvers. Thank you, Dr. Harbeck as well. Let's now move to comments from the board. Joanne, you want to start us out?
Sure. I like to say that I had a chance to do some outreach to the Da Vinci board, and that's been very positive. One of the Da Vinci board members and I, Joe Weber, and I have met, discussed various ideas and sort of overlap between other items of interest between the boards. Thank you. And that's gone really well. So as you know, I reported back to the board this evening on our topics of discussion, and Joe has had a chance to do that too. Mostly we're talking about items related to projects that might be considered joint between the two schools, as well as setting up a joint meeting between the two boards to discuss perhaps those projects and other items of interest. So I'm really happy to report that that's been going very well. It's very positive. And we're going to continue to meet. We're meeting again next week and continue with this same process. So it's been very successful. And I had a chance to listen in to the homeowners meeting last night where Blake made his presentation. Once again, the meeting was very positive. The police officer Ishii from Hawthorne Police, police chief made some comments about the community and some of the items that the public was concerned about. Mayor Vargas from, did I say his name right? It is Mayor Vargas, right? Hawthorne also spoke and talked about items of interest in the community, so those are very valuable. Aside from that, I'm really looking forward to the start of school. It's such a great time to be coming back to the classroom and wish our parents well and our community well, our staff, and very happy to go forward.
Thank you. Thank you to you for Joe Weber, the collaboration ensuing there. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Mr. Moore.
Well, it's really exciting to have most of our students coming back. It's been a long time. And I also want us to really, we've always tried to identify students that need extra help and need attention, and I think it's never going to be more important than now. We don't know what's exactly going on over the last year and 2 months. Caught up and back to some semblance. So I really like to have attention we focus on trying to identify those kids and special help. Give them as much attention. So,
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Martinez.
Dr. Goldman. In the spirit of time, I'll be brief tonight. I did want to welcome back our Da Vinci High School staff and students as well. I have a freshman at Da Vinci Science this year and a senior at Da Vinci Science, so it's going to be an interesting time at our household this year. But looking forward to the school year. I also just want to take an opportunity to commend the Lake, the cabinet, and everybody involved. It's obviously evident from the presentation when you see the 98% of students returning in person, and that you know, it's a testament to the work that you've done. I just commend you on the preparedness. Obviously, our families feel safe with our students returning back to school in person. I think we're about a week and a half or 2 weeks away now from our K-8. So again, just want to thank you for all the work. And at the same time, the 2% that we're prepared for them as well. And that's obviously very clear in your presentation. So thank you for that. That's all I have tonight.
My turn again. Thank you for all the work you guys have done. It's been a privilege to watch this. This summer, I think, was more active than I can remember. It was a privilege to be at the meeting last week in which we planned for the execution on all the ideas and implementation meeting. Thrilled to see all the training happening for the week of training, all the activity on the 30th and 31st introduce and welcome all our staff back. Exciting time. Pleased with the beautification at Anza and what's happening for Rio. Progressive. You'll feel great about the schools. It looks good. I did have the opportunity to attend the event last night at Holly Glen. Thank you for representing as well there, Joanne. Attended with Mr. Martinez, the LPSFA. Planning session the board meeting with colleagues and fellow board members in Seminole Valley. So again, thank you for that. Looking forward there. I also want to recognize WEF for their continuing contributions to our schools. And I know we'll be having violins, and they've made extra contributions to help in that regard as well. One-to-one violins, they're very exciting. And now we're going to have the outside, Dr. Jones will be mentioning, but the outside covered area that we can use for outdoor learning and use it. Very excited to see that. I think that'll do it for me. Let's now turn to our cabinet and chief business official, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Dr. Goldman. My comments were very brief tonight. I just want to give you an update. Did some good news. Attorney fees for last fiscal year, 2021. At the beginning of the fiscal year, the board authorized up to $200,000 for our attorney fees. The final fiscal year ended with approximately $160,000. So we came in under our target, which is good. Which is good for that.
Did you say 116 or 160?
160,000. So $40,000 less than the authorization.
Good.
Staff is still closing the books on 2021, and we will have the actuals by the September 9th board meeting. So that's all I have.
And excuse me, we also sent out a notice for a budget committee meeting, I think.
I believe it's we're tentatively scheduling a budget oversight committee for September 21st.
Okay, good. You almost found me again on a plane, but you managed to find a day before.
Good.
I was happy about that.
Thank you, Dave. Our Director of Psychological Services, Ms. Mazzarella.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to announce that we finally, after a long process, are licensed for opening our Lifeburn Preschool Enrichment Program. We're scheduled to open on the 31st, with everyone else having the same day everybody else returns to school. So, yay,
Congratulations.
Fantastic.
finally. We've been sweating it for a while, but we're very pleased.
All right. Thank you very much. That's
Thank you.
great news. Our Assistant Super for Educational Services, Dr. Harvick.
So thank you for letting me present tonight. I also want to update you on our enrollment. We are fully enrolled for September. We are back on some pending applications coming in for our residents. And I also want to shout out, obviously, to the state of Linda, who's been handling all of our permits, our school site secretaries, and registration. All good for fully enrolled.
And it's this year that we are enrolling the new blocks.
Yes.
Choice
Right, the choice blocks
Yes.
are now just automatically
Automatically.
into the district.
And members of the choice blocks who are already in our district received an email from us very early in the summer recommending that they not worry about that permit.
No need to go
anymore. They're all
through the
in.
release.
Right, that's great, that's awesome, thank you.
At least don't have choice. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
giving that option. Anything else, Dr.
I'm
Harvick?
sorry, that's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Dr. Silvers. Superintendent.
I didn't talk enough, but
We had urged it.
There's a few, I do want to piggyback off of what Dr. Harvick said about choice blocks, the question. Roger, Mr. Bowles did ask that we reach out to the county, the city of El Segundo, just to make sure that the use of the pools and the residents of the choice block now, Vibrant residents, have equal access to the pools. So I did send an official correspondence to Scott Mitnick, the city manager of the city of El Segundo. So he does have that with the boundaries and the blocks. So it should be a pretty seamless sort of rollover, I guess, to that. So just wanted to feedback on that. Then I wanted to share, we have talked about the start of the school year. We're preparing a memorandum to this board that will share dates, important dates. I did ask Dr. Goldman, and he said he would talk about assurances when our new teachers and new staff members are with us on August 24th. I believe that's Monday.
24th.
I'm sorry, 23rd. All right, I'm off. So the 23rd, Dr. Goldman will share about our assurances. We talk about the history. We actually have we usually have a band. We actually have a charter bus this year because we have a large set of new staff members. We'll take them to tour around the community and do a little scavenger hunt at all our school sites just to build sort of camaraderie and a chance to meet important people in our district. So you see the different sites, just want the ownership of kind of their role in the district and not so site specific. It'll start happening. Then we have our start of, August 30th. We will have our kickoff day. We do have a special presenter and workshop lead for Ruchi Kafele. He will be speaking on student-centered instruction, on equity, and basically how to address students of all needs and inclusive practices in the classroom. So really excited to have him. I've had an opportunity to see him speak 3 times, and just a really well-received speaker. He comes to us from New Jersey to sort of kick off the year. Very, very positive message from Mr. Kafele. And then on August 31st is the first day of school. And it's a shortened day, so after that first day of school, we will sort of get into our State of the District address. That's when I'll give an update to the district staff, introduce some staff members, and we will also honor our classified and certificated employees of the year. So really nice day there. Want to thank Dr. Harback. I want to thank Wes as well, sort of piggybacking off of Dr. Goldman's comments, because music is alive and well. We actually have more music teachers and music instruction in the district now, more instruments than we've ever had. And so students will be playing violin, percussion instruments, wind instruments, recorders, and really trying to bridge that pathway from the elementary schools to the middle school, and then working with Toby and with the Da Vinci schools on the music media pathway. So really looking at some of that articulation. Thank you, Peggy, too, for the work on preschool. I mean, this was a stressful time. You didn't act like it, and I know it was. So really thank you to you and to Karen to lift that off. And I know it was hard because things were slow. But thank you to you and Karen for really working us through that. And I'm going to ask the board for a little bit of flexibility in the neighborhood of about $40,000. We are looking to purchase canopy tents that would allow us to operate our music program. As wind instruments, you would need to actually can't go indoors. So we have found a company that could deliver prior to our next board meeting. So just going to ask for a little bit of flexibility on being able to purchase tents so that we can have our middle school music program outdoors, as well as our elementary recorders, etc. Also, it will allow for extended space for lunch so that we could, it could be dual purpose and shade and all of those things. So all good, really excited, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Silvers. All right, moving on in our agenda to item 6.1, the minutes from May 3rd. May I have a motion? Thank you, Nelson. Second, thank you. A comment. I have a question on item, Wendy, on item 3.2 from the public, and forgive me if this is correct. It says Master Quinn Weatherford. Is this individual's first name Master, or is this Mr.? Give me a question. We use Master as a.
But they're younger than 12.
Gotcha, so much. Things you learn. Thank you very much. All right, I appreciate it. Any questions or comments on additionally on this? All right, Wendy, vote.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Yes. Next on our agenda, action items 6.1. We need to do these independently. Approve of agreement with Fulgent Therapeutics for COVID testing. This is what was described by Dr. Silvers in his presentation. Thank you.
Here, a second, and I just want to, I see we received a grant for this.
We did it. That's through Lake. Well, it's actually not a grant. We actually have to request the money. Dave, I'm going to let you just kind of explain the process. It's quite a process to get the money.
Sure. So we have been set aside $396,000 from LACO, and when we have these expenses, and then we request reimbursement. So once we start getting these invoices, we'll request reimbursement. The county sits on the money, and then a month later they reimburse us for those costs.
All 80 districts were allocated X number of dollars depending on your enrollment. So so it is money earmarked for the district. It's just not in our.
So technically not necessarily a grant, but it's money set aside.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not useful for any other purpose,
Yeah.
but it should hopefully cover our needs.
Okay, thank you.
6.2, receive board policies. There's two for first reading. Motion, please.
I think I'll second with a clarification or amendment to remove dates on that policy of 9250.
So Wendy, so
Yeah, BB 9250. And it's a first reading, so those will come.
make it evergreen without any dates affiliated. There may be one date on there we need for, but we'll make sure we get it right.
Yeah, as long as it's in accordance with the regulations, that's fine.
Vote please.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. 7, let's see, yes, items 7.1 through 7.3, we need 7.4 and 5 independently, so if someone wishes to move 7.1 through 3, we would accept that. Thank you.
Second, 7173.
Any questions on the Kaya services, the shade at Cabrillo and or the netting at Anza Soccer?
All vote please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Item 7.4, approve renewal piggyback number 4, equipment for prefabricated hard pool components, parts, and ancillary accessories. Motion, please.
Got a motion?
Thank you. Comments or questions? Dave, we have some requests, inquiries on this, do we not?
Correct. But this is the pool, yes. About 6 weeks ago, I received communication that I think Long Beach Unified is looking at building 5 to 6 pools for the pools. And so 1% of that contract would come into our deferred maintenance account, which would definitely help us in our deferred maintenance needs.
So again, as I understand it, our piggybacks are pre-negotiated deals that we've worked out in advance that other districts can take advantage of. Because we pre-negotiated those deals, we get a small percentage of the.
Correct. Because we did the legwork, we vetted it, we took it out the bid, and for our hard work, we get a little bit of.
And we still can, we may be able to renew these for another year.
Correct.
Approve this.
Yes, Wendy.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
7.5, approve piggyback renewal portable modular prefab solutions. Motion, please.
Got a motion?
Thank you.
Not for our fees.
This is a piggyback. We know how much we love portables. Now, this is here. So, roll please.
All in favor?
Other people's portables.
Aye.
All opposed?
Yes, others can use them. Moving to fiscal items 8.1 through 3. We can move all these, and then if there's questions, take them. Thank you.
We have a second, 8.1, 3.3. I was gonna have a question earlier on 8.1, but Dr. Harbeck mentioned that, staff at the district was pleased with the Greenfield Learning Program, so I'm looking forward hopefully to see that program help us, especially on the math.
Perhaps Dr. Harvey, just very quickly, a little clarity on what the Simply Math program is.
It's online, it's also one-to-one with the teacher. It is foundational for students who are, we find that they have learning gaps or opportunity gaps in terms of their foundational skills. It takes place usually in the early grades. It does go through 6th grade for a child that might be 2 grade levels below standard. So we're looking at kids who are really struggling with those basic foundational skills to get them over that.
And refresh my memory, we've seen a kind of a slight drop off, is it between 4th and 5th, if I recollect properly, that.
Yes, and I will say Symphony Math is the same company as Lexio, which is a reading, the cousin reading program that's also used for Tier 3. Tier 3 is your out of the classroom prevention program after you have everything in the classroom to support students. So that's where this program will come in.
Thank you.
And then the 2-year agreement with Renaissance is ironic. That's the testing of the same program of the STAR Math, which actually gave us the understanding that this could be useful. So it makes perfect sense. Any other comments? Questions? Vote please.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
All right, moving to item 9.
I'd like to, if anyone has any objections, I'd like to mention 9.1 through 9.20.
Objection. Second. Thank you. Any questions on all of these items under consent? I will comment, Dr. Goldman, please.
It's going to just be on 9.20. The last one, declaring an item obsolete. This was a district-owned vehicle, the 2007 Ford F-250 utility vehicle. We actually just did replace that vehicle. This one was involved in a collision, and it was totaled. So due to that, we just need to declare it obsolete. But the grounds crew did get a new truck, and I'm very excited about the new truck. It's definitely an upgrade.
Does anyone hurt if this?
No. We know what's.
My only request there is that usually when we declare something obsolete, throw it away with no value. I would request that we try to get some value in, trade in something. To the extent we can. Fantastic. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we'll take it over and get it, right? Instead of nothing. All right, a vote please on consent items.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Moving into action item personnel, we can also, without exception, take 10.1 through 13, should someone wish to move.
I'll make a motion 10.1 through 10.13.
Thank you.
One second, and I appreciate the clarification of the items that I had questions about as we first saw the agenda, so thank you. I'm okay with everything.
Any other comments or questions?
One comment, sorry, Dr. Goldman, just
Yep.
that, as you see, lots of movement here in personnel, and I just want to thank, the team. Because it's tough, there's a lot of interviews and a lot of panels and a lot of organization, and they're close to fully hired, and this is just a real testament to, Dr. Dougal leading this process, but also to the rest of the team who puts together a panel and goes through this process. So congratulations to all our new hires, and thank you to everybody that put in work.
Agreed. We would recognize that Dr. Dugas should be here, and thank you to the whole team. Appreciate your all involved. Big year of hire, very busy summer.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Let's see, ongoing dates and events. Dr. Silvers, do you want to review those for us? It is lengthy.
This is lengthy. We wanted to try and get as much as we could out of this. And so again, I did share Monday, August 23rd. We have our staff meeting this coming Monday, where we'll review our COVID-19 protocols, basically similar to what we saw today. However, we understand that every school site's going to have some different protocols just based on their site and the flow of the school. So the principals we utilize these slides that we showed today and include their own just to be site specific. The 23rd, we also have our new teacher orientation, as I shared. August 24th, we're doing a Guiding Coalition Part 1 at Dana Middle School. That's really looking at our professional learning communities and our teacher leadership. Tuesday, August 24th, we also have our new elementary teacher CPI introduction workshop. It's in the 138th Street School, MPR. Wednesday, August 25th, we will do a writers workshop day 1 at ANZA and Cabrillo. And then we'll also do Dana Summer Institute, which involves readers workshop, and I believe there was a writers workshop there as well. On Thursday, August 26th, we have our writers workshop day 2. And then we also have readers workshop at Dana Middle School. Friday, August 27th, we have a social studies option at the ANZA GMC. This is an opportunity to review the social studies framework at this date. August 31, we have this, this August 30th, I shared about this. We have our special event, our guest speaker, and the 31st, our State of the District event. And lots of community events. I maybe won't read through all of those, but certainly we can send this to the board as well.
And they are on the agenda. All right. We now reach the end of our agenda. Is there any more business that any member wishes to bring forth at this time? Then at 7:57, I declare this meeting adjourned.